The sun was still shining when I stepped back onto the street. To be fair, the sun was always shining in Cisalis, and the rest of New Albion, and the Triad, and, well, everywhere on this side of this planet because of that whole title-locked thing, but that wasn't the point. Alright, tell me about this Triad, because they sound evil. The Triad is a three-nation alliance between New Albion, Cerna, and Afra? Afra, I think. I hope so. And Cerna? Yeah, okay, I'll take that. Close enough. They govern much of what happens on the day side of the planet and the rest of the solar system. They possess the only significant colony on Syrah, as well as 2 colonies on Dion. The Triad, particularly New Albion, is frequently at odds with Delphine and often relies on Endgame to mediate interactions with the night side of the planet. They have, however, also found themselves in conflict with Endgame as well. Even so, they are generally viewed as a stable and necessary leader in system politics. Okay. Sure. Tidal locking is when a planet's rotation matches the length of its revolution. The result is that one side of the planet always faces the star, and the other side always faces away from it. In simpler terms, it refers to a situation where one side of the planet is always day and the other side is always night. It is also referred to as synchronous rotation. Though tidal locking happens naturally via gravitational interactions, Arcalis is believed to have been artificially tidal locked to its star by means of some sort of advanced technology. Scientists believe the species responsible for the relics is likely also responsible for tidal locking Arcalis to its star. The relics, eh? The reason behind why they may have done this, however, remains a mystery, as does the means by which they would have done it. Interesting. So, humans didn't tidal lock the planet. That was done a while ago. Okay. The point was that the biofield had only barely begun to darken and block the blistering light outside. The closest thing the city ever got to, night. And back into lore we go. More lore! Give it all to me! The domed cities of Arcalis were left behind by a previous civilization that had already long abandoned the world before Earth colonists first arrived. These cities are scattered on both sides of the planet and house millions of Arcalis' citizens. Their internal climates and all life support functions are fully planned and automated by a central control unit. The electromagnetic fields that create the dome protect the cities from the harsh surface climate of the planet. Domes on the day side draw their power from vast solar farms in the Trinity Desert, while the domes on the night side struggle to pull necessary power from a scant few geothermal vents and functioning wind farms near the Twilight region. It is possible to live outside the biodomes, but the planet's climate is harshly varied with frequent storms and constant winds that sweep endlessly across the surface. There are people who dwell in the Twilight region, but they have little to no dealings with those who live in the cities. Domes utilize bioregenerative life support systems that vary in complexity. Some dayside domes have almost entirely self-sustained ecosystems, while many nightside domes rely entirely on energy stores to supply their life support needs. All domes have entirely contained environmental controls that can simulate mild weather. Dayside domes simulate evening and night, while nightside domes simulate daylight and dawn. Okay, interesting. So everything was just kind of set up for the colonists to take over. But the original species has been gone for a while. Why did they leave? And is there only humans now living here? Have they come across any other alien life at all? In just the universe in general? So many questions. It would most likely be dark by the time I got home. Dark-ish, anyway. I started away from my apartment and towards the bistro. My mind wandered as I walked, glancing up at the sky. Though I guess it's not really the sky. The biodome blocked the view of the real sky and filtered out the harmful UV rays. It looked like the sky, so I suppose it was the same thing anyway. I wondered if it looked the same in Delphine. I really wanted to go there someday to see. Delphine is the largest sovereign nation on the night side of the planet, made up of 15 individual domes, 2 megacities, and a population of 73 million people. Its government is well known to be a cesspool of corruption. Its capital city, Pythia? No, there's no pronunciation. I hope it's Pythia. Has many wealthy and well-cared-for sectors, but surrounding domes have extensive slums where power, water, and other functions are limited. Delphine has control of most energy production on the Arcalis night side, which falls far short of what is needed to run the domes there. Purchasing energy from the day side is also expensive and inefficient. What is left over after powering its most important cities, Delphine sells it at a premium to the few city-states that have managed to take root on the night side. The fights over energy and other resources are a constant reminder of the difference between living on the day side or the night side of Arcalis. Okay. Not only that, there were ruins there, and some of the wastes closer to the Twilight region, but the Delphine government didn't let anyone near them. It was ridiculous that it was easier to go off-world to a planet 50 million kilometers away to see ruins than it was to research the ones on Arcalis. And after all this time, we can finally read about Arcalis. The fourth planet circling a yellow dwarf star, Arcalis was settled by humans over 400 Earth years ago, but already had the remnants of a more technologically advanced culture on the surface. Much of the old infrastructure and technology were repurposed and reused to form the basis of the first human colonies. This includes the massive domed cities, many of which were in a state of severe disrepair at the time colonists first entered orbit. Okay, that makes sense. Arcalis is tidal-locked to its star by artificial means. The day and night sides of the planet have very little hospitable terrain, with the day side dominated by a vast desert, and the night side home to a frozen waste. Makes sense. There is, however, a strip of habitable land habitable, there we go. Habitable land that follows the edge of shadow between the day and night sides. This is referred to as the Twilight Wastes. One of the more important elements that shaped human culture on Arcalis was the presence of nanites in the atmosphere. These tiny machines infiltrated and altered the physiology of the human colonists and have become an integral part of society. The planet's climate is characterized by a constant prevailing wind due to the extreme temperatures on both sides of the world. There are frequent sandstorms in the desert, ice storms on the night side, and powerful cyclones that dominate the area by the sea. There are many small bodies of water in the Twilight Wastes, but the largest body of water on the planet is the single sea that bisects the planet into light and dark. Bioluminescence is common among flora and fauna, particularly on the night side, and there are many native species that continue to thrive in spite of human colonization. Good for them. But that's what happened when two countries didn't get on, I suppose. In any case, even if I could study the ruins in Delphine, I'd rather go to Dion. To finally see something other than simulated day and night. To feel real wind. To see a storm. Or the stars. Pronounced Dion. Dion is the fifth planet circling the star in Arcalis' solar system. It is slightly smaller than Arcalis and has a much colder climate. It too has some domed cities similar to those in Arcalis, but its surface sustained severe damage in what colonists believed to have been some sort of war prior to their arrival. As such, it was viewed as less suitable for habitation. The colony there is much smaller and was founded some time after colonists settled on Arcalis. There are almost no nanites in the Dion atmosphere, so there are very few nano-espers on this colony. Its surface is dotted with ruins of previous civilizations, including one highly advanced culture that predates the biodomes and Thalossan culture by thousands of years. In addition, there are numerous remnants of the Senecan culture, the only primitive culture to have been discovered in the solar system, the same primitive culture present on Arcalis. Very little has been learned about this mysterious civilization, and Dion is a hotspot for researchers of all types. Though that would only be an option if I made it into the prime tier and could continue my studies. So now I was back to thinking about the exam, which kinda defied the purpose of a relaxing evening. I pushed the thoughts away, determined not to think about it. I was about 2 blocks from home in a pedestrian walkway between 2 streets when I first noticed the crowd gathered up ahead. I paused, watching curiously as several more people wandered over. All of them were clustered around a large fountain there. A busker, maybe? I saw plenty of them on my way to and from class, though I rarely had time to stop and watch. This one must be pretty good to gather that big a crowd. Too bad it was kind of blocking the path I needed to take. I drew closer, and instead of hearing a performance of some kind, it actually sounded like someone talking loudly, though ranting might have been a better term. A demonstration or protest? I suppose it could have been some kind of dramatic performance instead of a musician. I was a little curious, and I needed to go through there anyway. Maybe I should take a minute to find out what was going on? But I wasn't sure I really wanted to bother with the crowd. Ah, neutral. Join the crowd to see what's going on, squeeze past the crowd as quickly as possible, take a different route altogether, just in case. Okay, so in the common route, there are certain choices that are going to lead you to interactions with some of the boys. Very much like in Changeling, where it's like, if you go to the front yard, you run into, I think it was you run into Elliot first, and then Danny comes along, and then vice versa if you went to the backyard instead, and so on and so forth. Same kind of dealio here. So I actually have the choices I need to make to run into our boy, our number one boy. So for this one, I need to take a different route altogether just in case. Okay, we will do that then. I will not know what kind of ranting is going on this day. Ugh. No, never mind. The more I thought about it, the more it looked like a headache. The crowd was basically blocking the entire path. That looked like it would be a pain to fight against. So after a moment of deliberation, I decided to retrace my steps entirely and take a different path. The shouts and noise from the crowd faded behind the sounds of traffic as I went towards to the street I'd just crossed instead. There was an alley back there that I'd go through instead. The crowd was still in view when I reached the alley opening, and as I was about to enter, there was a loud crash like something heavy shattering on the ground. Alarms blared and shouts went up from the crowd. The wail of sirens sounded in the distance and rapidly drew closer. If anything, that solidified my decision to try and avoid the situation. I'm so curious now what happened over there. Everyone was scattering, and the safety department would arrive in minutes to break up any stragglers. I'm so curious what happened. New Albion's public law enforcement. For the most part, they tackle smaller crimes and general keeping of public order. They have special departments that handle more significant crimes, such as those involving unregistered espers, but they often turn cases over to Endgame if it seems to be more than they can handle on their own. Other nations and city-states have their own PSDs that function in more or less the same way. It's probably for the best. Whatever had been going on there was inevitably going to start disrupting traffic if the crowd got any bigger. I couldn't help but wonder what had happened, though. Maybe it wasn't a performance after all? We'll never know this time. I stepped into the alley and found myself on the narrow path between rows of buildings, now completely cut off from the view of the street. The sirens and commotion had faded a bit. This is the nicest alley I've ever been in. I started up the slight incline, checking my directions quickly to make sure I was still heading the right way. These paths could become a bit of a labyrinth. I hope this bistro is worth the effort. But either way, it was nice to get out of the apartment and just wander around for a while. Whoa, hello. This guy looks like trouble. I was about to make another right turn when the sound of hurried footsteps rounded a corner in front of me and a disheveled man came into view. My eyes went wide. He was sopping wet, ragged, and with hair that looked like it hadn't been brushed in some time. And he looked like he was being chased. I quickly lowered my eyes, heart pounding uncomfortably. It wasn't as if there weren't displaced people in Cisalis. Even New Albion had its issues. It was hardly the utopia the unified Triad government tried to make everyone believe, but you didn't usually see them here. Unified Triad government refers to the ruling body that oversees the union between New Albion, Cyrna, and Afra. Each nation has 4 representatives on this council. They are responsible for making joint decisions that affect any of the Triad's territories, treaties, or nations. It wasn't the raggedness that concerned me. It was his eyes. They were a little odd. Even from this distance, I could see that one was strangely pale, while the other gleamed faintly red in the light. Drug addict? One of the most popular street drugs at the moment could have odd effects on the eyes. What the heck is going on today? I quickly veered to the path on the right, trying not to noticeably speed up my pace. Please just keep going the other way, please. My heart rose to my throat and lodged there when I heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps following me. He didn't try to catch up, but he didn't turn off anywhere else either. He kept pace, staying a short distance behind me. I could hear him muttering, catching only snatches of what he was saying. Okay, strange man.
They don't know. They don't know. They tried to make me stop, but I'll break it. We'll break it all. The sounds, the songs. I hear them. I hear them calling, slithering in my head.
Oh my god. I clenched my fist to my chest and quickened my step. The footsteps behind me quickened as well.
Crowns. Crowns. Queens and kings. You can see the truth behind the lies. If you open up your eyes and let the stars tell you all their songs.
I had no idea if he was talking about me, or to me, or if he was simply randomly muttering, but something about the way he spoke set me on edge. I finally broke into a run, horrified to hear him immediately do the same.
Wait!
Nope, not doing that! I had lived my entire life in this city without ever feeling like I was in danger, but in that moment, I felt I was definitely in danger. And this had to happen tonight of all nights. I just wanted to relax. Honestly. Well, that's why things are happening. Unfortunately, for all that he looked like he was about to fall over, the man was fast. Faster than me, way faster. I felt like I'd barely gone 5 feet before a hand wrapped around my arm, yanking me backwards. I let out a scream as I was spun around and slammed into the wall.
You!
Let go of me! My voice went high-pitched and frantic as I struggled to get away from him. Oh boy, this is just getting weirder and weirder. It started off weird and it just escalated with everything he said.
Come, my lovely lady Nye. You can hear them in your mind. Open up your eyes. Listen to their whispers. You can hear them.
Please, let me go! He cupped a grimy hand around my face, leaning in extremely close, pressing his face to the side of my head.
I'm not what's holding you down. Come to sit with me on Neptune's yellow sands. We can find them, you and I.
What? What?
You're one of us.
I don't know what you're talking about. His hand tightened painfully on my upper arm.
You know!
I don't! I really don't! I desperately needed to call for help, but I didn't want to take my eyes off him long enough to place a call with the safety department. I could send an emergency beacon, but... The man pulled me back and slammed me against the wall.
You can't! Don't call! Don't call them back! I have to go. They're waiting. All of them. The court. It's waiting.
The court? The Unseelie Court? The court is rumored on the day side to be a strange cult with a near fanatic worship of espers. They are reported to have started in Delphine somewhere, though not much else is known about them. They are occasionally blamed for various crimes and incidents that no one else takes responsibility for. On the night side, they are known as a widespread group of espers located in Chestershire? Chestershire. Okay. Located in Chestershire. I'm gonna struggle with that one. They are said to have some kind of ties with Crimson and may even be a branch of that organization. This isn't widely known outside of that region, and some city-states or nations on the day side have declared them a terrorist organization and have banned all activity to do with them. I don't know, am I gonna be put on some kind of list now that I've interacted with you? The court? That group obsessed with espers? I thought they were more of a Delphine problem. I didn't know we had them here as well. There was a shout from somewhere towards the street, the sound of something falling. The man looked that way for a split second, and I took the opportunity to twist away from him and run.
Wait!
Why did people chasing you always shout for you to wait as if you were going to quietly comply? His footsteps were coming after me again. Good question, though. How was he running so fast? If I could just get a little further. My boot caught on something and I hit the ground with a shriek. Ah, typical. The man was on top of me again in seconds. No! A tremor rippled through my body. And from somewhere above, glass shattered and came cascading down. I curled up, lifting my arms over my head as we were showered with broken glass. The man screamed as several shards cut into his arms and face. I kept waiting for the bite of pain, but nothing. There was the scuffle of footsteps, then the sound of the man retreating quickly. Whoa! Hello! You're the guy! You're the dude! This is the guy we've been waiting for! Hello! That's the wrong button! Oh no! I've gone... What have I done? Oh no, I broke everything. Hello? What am I trying to do? Okay. There we go! I got too excited, guys, I'm sorry. I pressed all the buttons, and none of them were correct. Hi! Nice to meet you! I looked up cautiously, freezing when I realized there was someone else there as well. Where had he come from? The man standing over me was much taller and much better dressed. He was sort of bent over me with one arm lifted as if shielding me from the glass? But how? Where had he come from? Did I summon him with my mind? Sorry for the cut. He lowered the arm and, after a beat, offered me his hand to help me stand. Cautious or confident? I'm actually forgetting what I'm supposed to be doing. But, I mean... he hasn't been weird like the other guy, so I'm gonna thank him? Thank you. I didn't even know what I was thanking him for. Scaring off the other man? Shielding me? All of the above? I took his hand and pulled myself to my feet.
Are you alright? You fell.
I'm alright. I don't think I'm hurt. My ankle was a bit sore from having tripped, but I didn't think it was sprained or anything. I gave the man another curious look. His hair was silvery white, like mine. Died? I couldn't imagine that. But there weren't many things that would cause that level of premature graying. The incident that had led to mine was a bit rare, so I couldn't help but wonder about him. Interesting. Okay, there's a bit of a reference. Glad I picked the white hair. So there was an incident that led to you going silver. Interesting. How unusual. I was so busy wondering about the hair that it took a moment to notice the cut on his face. But you are! Because you shielded me from that glass, probably. Guilt washed over me as I looked up at the shattered window 1 story above us.
You were attacked a mere moment ago, and you're worried about a stranger?
Well, you're hurt, and I'm not. He touched the cut on his face, his expression barely changing.
This is nothing. It's only a scratch.
Let me see. I pulled him down to my level to inspect the cut on his cheek. He lifted an eyebrow and gently removed my hands from his shoulders as he straightened. Such boldness.
Looking at it isn't going to help anyway. I can have it treated at a clinic later if necessary.
Well, that was true. But I just wanted to see if there was still glass in the cut. Still, you got it from helping me.
That doesn't make you responsible. It was I who chose to jump in at that moment.
Where did you even come from? I didn't realize anyone else was around.
I happened to be nearby and heard you cry out.
Well, thank you for intervening. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't. That man. I glanced worriedly over my shoulder.
He seems to have fled for the time being.
The time being?
I can't say he won't return, which is why you should head home if you're otherwise all right.
Yeah, I'm like, why do I get the feeling you were kind of trailing that guy somehow? Yeah, I wasn't much in the mood for dinner out anymore anyway. Do I at least get to learn your name? Yay! We got it.
I'm Ariel Vaughn, though many simply call me Ari. You may as well, if you wish.
I'm Morgan Leone, and I just want to thank you again for helping me, Mr. Vaughn.
That makes the 3rd time you've thanked me.
I can thank you as much as I want. He didn't smile at that, but merely cocked an eyebrow as he studied my face.
Can you get home all right?
I don't live far away. As long as I don't get accosted again on the way home, I should be fine.
It's the being accosted again part that's the concern.
Generally speaking, yes. That would be the problem.
Perhaps I should go with you, at least part of the way.
I hesitated. I mean, I didn't exactly know this Ariel Vaughn either, but he had helped me, and it seemed a bit weird that he'd help me only to try to assault me himself. True. Besides, he didn't seem the type. I wasn't really much for reading vibes or whatever, but he didn't give off a threatening one. All right, if you don't mind.
I wouldn't offer if I minded.
Fair enough. And with that, I awkwardly wove my way back through the alley in the direction I'd come. I like this boy so far. What a gentleman.
Wait.
What is it?
You're limping. You are injured.
No! I'm fine. Really. I turned my ankle when I fell, and I'm pretty sure I bruised up both my knees, but it's nothing serious.
You shouldn't be walking on that.
It's fine. I mean, it just hurts a little. I'll put it up for the rest of the evening when I get back.
Let me have a look at it.
Oh, come on. You wouldn't let me look at your cut. You want to look at my ankle? I gave him a teasing grin, amused at his concern when he'd been so dismissive of mine for that cut on his face. Exactly, girl. You and I, same brain cell. And she threw the words back at him. Love it. Looking at it isn't going to help. I can always get it checked at a clinic later if I need to. Your own words. He frowned, still not cracking even a hint of a smile. Gosh, this guy's stone cold. He's the Ice Prince.
If I see that it's swollen, I could try to hail a cab for you instead of walking.
Aw, you're not gonna bridal carry me home? Sad. I literally live 2 blocks from here. He took my elbow and led me to a nearby step, motioning for me to sit. I hesitated, then did so because it seemed like he wasn't going to let it go. He crouched in front of me and pulled my foot onto his knee, gently easing off my boot. I winced as he started poking around on my ankle in a decidedly not doctor-like way. I studied his face as he examined my ankle, amused by the serious expression. My gaze landed on the cut again, which already had a thin line of crusted-over blood. Without thinking, I slid my fingers under his jaw, forcing him to look up as I leaned a bit closer just to check if there was any glass still lodged there. Fortunately, it didn't look like a bad cut. He'd been right about that, and no shards of glass that I could see, though I wasn't exactly a doctor. I realized he had completely frozen and was staring at me with eyes that were an amazing shade of gray, with little flecks of green. I suddenly realized what was I doing, and instantly released his face. I mean, you could get lost in those eyes. Sorry. The cut doesn't look that bad.
Neither does your ankle. I don't believe it's sprained.
I told you that much. He looked away as he bent to put my shoe back on. Then he quickly stood and offered his hand again. Such a gentleman.
If you're fine walking, You can at least lean on me for support if you need to.
I think I'll be fine. I started to lead the way again, and Ari fell into step beside me. I could feel his eyes on me as if he was making sure I wasn't limping too much. I did my best to not limp at all. So, Mr. Vaughn, what do you do when you're not rescuing women in alleys?
Not much.
Was that so? Did that mean he led a really boring life or a really exciting life? Sounds interesting, I think. We walked in silence until we were back out on the street. There was still a commotion down by the fountain area, but the crowd had dispersed. So what were you doing in that alley anyway?
You heard the incident down there?
He nodded towards the roundabout with the fountain at the end of the block. I heard it. I didn't see what happened. I was trying to go around it.
I see. Well, the cause of it was that man.
I'm just gonna run into that guy every time in the common route. Delightful. Wait. Were you chasing him? He wasn't in uniform, so I didn't think he was from the safety department. But I suppose he could have been an investigator instead of an officer. He does kind of give off James Bond vibes a little bit.
Not exactly.
What did that mean? It didn't seem like he was going to give any more information than that. Guess it's classified. Do you think he was, on drugs? His eyes looked a little strange.
He was an Esper.
Ah. That would probably explain why he was so fast. Not to mention strong. But it made the way he had talked to me even more worrisome. I suppose I should send in a report when I get home. I hope they catch him. He probably should be put somewhere that he can get treatment.
I'm sure they've already gotten a clear description of him, whether you send a report or not. There were many witnesses to the incident at the fountain.
Even so. It was easy to say things like, Cisalis is a safe city, until you were confronted head-on by its problems. It didn't take us long to reach my building. Ari stayed with me the entire time, despite saying he would only walk me part of the way. Though neither of us said much else the rest of the way. I stopped a short way from my door. You didn't have to walk me all the way back.
It's fine.
Thank you.
Don't forget to elevate your ankle, Miss Leone.
I won't forget. And you don't forget to properly clean and doctor that cut.
I won't.
He nodded and turned on his heel, heading back the way we'd come without another word. He was kind of an odd man. Kind, but also sort of quiet and remote. I watched him for a few minutes before shivering and heading inside. It was distressing how rapidly this evening went completely to hell. And I'm still hungry, damn it. You should have asked him to take you out for a meal. Would have been kind of cool. It looked like it was going to be takeout for me. I told you we should have got a pizza.
Hello? Weather is beautiful today.
No appointments. No reminders. Griffin? Paladin says Griffin. Who's Griffin and who's Paladin? Was that guy a super secret agent spy?
Griffin, where the hell are you? I encountered the target after the incident at the fountain. Figures.
Okay, is Paladin our boy? The target.
Confirmed telekinetic ability. What are next steps? I'll contact Ivory Tower. It's Merlin's call. But I'm pretty sure I saw Jackal lurking. Gave chase, but he managed to escape. So Crimson is moving in. I doubt they're the only ones. We'll need to act soon. Understood. I'll be standing by.
End communication. Oh, dang. I lay on my bed, staring up at the ceiling, unable to sleep. I kept replaying the evening's events. That man, his face, that look in his eyes as he looked at me. the way that window shattered. I rolled over, trying to find a comfortable spot to no avail. I flipped my pillow over, pressing my face against the cool fabric, but it didn't help at all. Somehow I felt strange, feverish. It had been a while since something like that had happened, and it had never happened out in public before. Oh, so you've been having incidents, eh, girl? Though I suppose I didn't usually have that frightening an experience in public either. Ugh, I just wanted to stop thinking about it. I finally flopped on my back, staring at the ceiling. Query. There was a little chime in my head acknowledging the command. Cross-reference Shakespeare and Neptune's Yellow Sands. Always comes back to Shakespeare in these games. Information flitted through my head, and a soft ping alerted me that the search had found something. Transfer to display. I rolled over and picked up the display screen from my table as I propped myself up on my elbows. My eyes narrowed slightly as I read the writing there. A Midsummer Night's Dream! That's what the name of that play was. It's all coming together. It had been such a long time since we'd covered Shakespeare. Titania. A queen of fairies. Anxiety stirred in the pit of my stomach again. Fairy espers. I didn't know much about them, except that their genetic markers and brain structure were a bit different from the norm. And queens were one of the top ranked esper levels. Indeed. The official rankings used by Endgame, and subsequently everyone else, are modeled off chess pieces. There's the other connection. Though most people have simply come to accept the vernacular, the reason usually given for the whimsical labels is just that the founder of the organization was both eccentric and a particular fan of chess. Okay. The lowest level of espers is the infantry classification, but they are sometimes referred to as unranked. They score anywhere from 3 to 7.9 on the EA scale, and are the most common esper type. Low-level infantry are on the lower end of this range with scores of 3 to 4.5. Mid-level infantry score between 4.5 to 5.9, and upper-level infantry are 6 to 7.9. Espers that score 8 or higher on the EA scale typically begin to develop specialized abilities that allow them to acquire an official named rank. Nearly all espers have a range of abilities that fall loosely into similar categories. These categories, or ranks, are Rook, Knight, Bishop, King, and Queen. Though nearly all espers have some form of clairvoyant awareness and telekinesis, each rank has a unique set of traits common to the espers who fall into that category. Rooks are the most common ranked espers, followed by Knights, then Bishops. Kings and Queens are the least common esper types. While nano-espers follow fairly rigid ability types and skill sets based on rank, this is not true for Fairy or F-class espers. They often possess unique attributes that don't strictly align to this ranking method, though there are often some similarities that allow for loose classifications using this system. Thus, you might have an F-class Knight or an F-class Bishop. The Fairy phenomenon is still relatively newly discovered, and eventually there may be espers whose abilities are so far outside the usual range they require an entirely new classification system. Wouldn't that be a thing? Pull up Earth mythology on the topic of fairies. Let's go! Late night research. I flicked the light on and sat up in bed, wondering if I should make myself some tea. If I couldn't sleep, I might as well stay up and read for a while. I tried my best to drown the anxieties by immersing myself in the ancient stories of a world millions of light years away and thousands of years old. I don't know how long I read before I finally set the display aside and went to sleep.